seems lost, thoughts lead you astray. Then I cry, then I feel pain. Why do I suffer so much? I would love to feel your touch. Baby, I don't know where to go. I feel so lost without you. Baby, I don't know where to go. I feel so lost without you. Baby, I don't know where to go. I feel so lost without you. Baby, I don't know where to go. I feel so lost without you. Save me before I pass out. Save me before I pass out. Before I pass out. Before I pass out.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round number 5 of the Tier 5 season here in MRL Season 11. We are at the Hungarian Grand Prix for the first time, not sponsored by Qatar Airways. It is a monumental point in the season. Round number 5. We're at the midway point now, and it has been one hell of a chaotic season thus far, but today we are graced by Monaco without wars, 2.7 miles, 14 turns, one major DRS zone and another for a quick switch back into 2. We will see all of the overtaking in mainly just one place today, and that is the first sector. Runs from turn 1 through to 3 and even up the hill to 4 if you want to risk it are the places we are going to see the moves today, and that is hopefully going to create some drama and some chaos, which is kind of just unnecessary at this point for tier number 5. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am once again the Big Mac Dan, and I'm on my own, as always, here in the booth. But it has been an absolute honour to call these races so far this season, and now we have arguably the biggest one yet. The Hungarian Grand Prix has proven to be a tester of skill, a tester of ability, and really a tester of durability. Who can go the longest, who can last and survive the furthest in these sorts of races. It all comes down to who's the most consistent, and that's kind of been the story so far in Tier 5. We have a new championship leader. Villneuve has taken the lead for Red Bull Racing Honda, has gotten to the top step for the first time, and that is through only finishing P1, 2 or 3, has been on the podium every single race that they have finished. The only race they didn't was Austria, which I believe was, unfortunately, I think they got DNF'd in that race. Oh no, they weren't DNF'd, but they were outside of the points, so they didn't score in Austria. But when they have scored, they've scored a podium every time, and they've scored it 3 out of the first 4. The other driver who's made big moves into the top 5 is Benzo Slice in the Kick Sauber, who has done an amazing job at being the consistent driver. 4 races, 4 top 5s, P5 at Spain, P5 at Austria, a P4 at Britain, and finally his first podium, a P3 at Qatar. Coming into his favourite race this week, I think there's a chance we'll see some chaos, some maybe more consistency from him, and potentially a new championship leader. We also have our 3 other race winners this season, Angry Shadow, Deathman and Mockmage, all present, I believe, for this round. It is quite a who's who, a gallery of villains and chaotic drivers, but that's kind of the fun of it, isn't it? The more chaotic, the better, and what better way to start than by heading us into qualifying. It is going to be 18 minutes of qualifying for you today as we get the grid ready to go. It will be 18 drivers, so we are down a few, and notably, I'm just looking to see which teams are missing one. It appears we are missing an Alpine driver, and it appears we are missing a Mercedes. No, not a Mercedes. It's a Haas driver. No. I say it with such confidence. It's an Aston Martin. So we are missing a... What was the first one I said again? I can't remember. There's definitely a missing Aston, that much I can tell you. And a missing Alpine is the other one. So yes, we are missing those 2 teams. But we will have a whole host of other drivers on the track as we quickly just get all of the data back up for you. It will be a Kick Sauber who will lead us away, but it will not be P2 in the standings. It will be Benzo Slice. So I try and change the camera type and it wasn't letting me. There we go. Now it works. Lovely. A great start to the season. I am also currently trying to run a separate system to allow us to get the statistics running better. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be working for me, which is lovely. Makes me feel great as it keeps pausing the damn game. So I guess we're not going to be doing that. So instead, what we'll have is this lovely feed. Obviously, also in the constructors' standings, we've had a couple of changes. The biggest one being the fact that Ferrari are no longer comfortably at the top. Red Bull have closed the gap to 4 points as it stands currently. So they are looking for a good performance this weekend to see if they can pull off a good recovery drive. As now we get onto the tyres, so you can just see a couple of people have gone out on the mediums. Welshie and Two Terms, of course under the name Jacob on the standings, have gone for the medium tyre early on here, and that kind of may work for them. It's a very high deg track. It's one of those tracks where you are constantly on the move. You are constantly turning the car, and so those soft tyres burn out rather quickly. We found that out in Tier 6, a chaotic race as always there as well. But really, we call it Monaco without walls. I am 90% certain someone will see a barrier today, even if it's just through here. The run up the hill through 4. We saw Leclerc and Perez both bid it there during qualifying in the real-life F1 race. Now through the chicane, a tense part of the lap. The curbs reprofiled for this game. They now are a little safer to take, but even then, you still don't want to unsettle the car. Now through the twisty S section. As you come towards the end of Sector 2, you want to get a good exit out of here, because this is theoretically an overtaking spot. A over 90-degree turn back onto you. A very acute, tight right-hander. It can be a pretty good overtaking spot if you've got the grip and pace through that middle sector. As around the final corner will come Echo 1. He will set our first valid lap time. Where will that put him? It will put him on pole, obviously, as he goes ahead of everyone. We have had an incident, however, and I think it is an RB. One of the Visa Cash App RBs. Oh, and he's pulled onto the track. Oh, there's contact. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, and that is awful. Two Terms has collided with NATO G, who was trying to take avoiding action. And that will be a quali ban and maybe more for Two Terms. You have to be paying attention in qualifying. You cannot rejoin the track unsafely, especially in the qualifying session or the race, as Nathan W's will go fastest so far in the Haas. Meanwhile, Benzo Slice, P2 in the championship, has invalidated his lap time and has also just locked up the front left as well. Coming into the final chicane, has seemingly set up for another lap though. Goes wide to cut back for the final corner. Now gets a good exit. What sort of time will he be able to set? There's a yellow flag for a Haas driver. And I wonder if that's Cypher just getting out of the way. It was. Meanwhile, other drivers coming around the final few corners. Both Mercedes drivers are, one of them is on a lap, and that is Electric Entree, who made his debut 2 weeks ago. Had a little bit of a disappointing race at Qatar. Will only go P6 for now. It's a very good, not very good banker lap from him. As meanwhile, across the line comes a McLaren. Welshie on his second lap on that set of mediums goes up to P4. As Angry Shadow shows his pace, a 14.6. That is a monster lap time from him. Deathman goes P4. Deathman, I think, replacing Monster Jammers this weekend in the Ferrari. Mark Mage going into P5 there as well. Across the line comes Villneuve. Oh, sorry, that's not Villneuve. That was Normbash to start his flying lap. My apologies. As meanwhile, Benzo Slice now. One of the few drivers left on track still to set a lap time. And you can see he's just struggling with the downforce in that car. And he's seeming just all out of sorts there through that final corner. It's only going to be P9 for him. That car doesn't look settled. Meanwhile, Cop K behind with a very decent lap time. A 16.0 puts him currently P4. We've got a couple of other drivers on laps now. Here comes Midnight. You can hear that manual gearbox clicking up and up and up and up through every single corner. Where does this put him? It's not been a great lap from him. It's only P10, as across the line there came, I believe, Welshie, who just pulls out at the last second there. 16.5. He's gone even quicker, as Grade A sets a 17.3. Very much had to weave there to avoid someone else. Mark Mage going for a second push lap potentially here. As across the line comes, I believe that was Normbash up to P2. Great lap from him. Now we look further down the order to see who will be the next driver to set a lap. Of course, we are still waiting for Bum to finish their first lap. I believe they've just started it. Here he is in Sector 2. And obviously, Two Terms retiring in the pit lane. Knows he will start from the back of the grid now. Another driver we've not seen set a lap yet is Snoop Francis, as Echo 1 goes at P4 with that effort. Here is Snoop Francis now, coming around the final two corners. It is a difficult final two corners. If you don't have the tyres still with you at this point, it can be hellacious to get the car around. But he straightens it up rather well. It's going to be a decent lap from Snoop. It's a 16.093, 2000s off of P5. As across the line comes Welshie, who has improved for the 4th time in a row on that set of mediums. Definitely has his eye in now, you would have to assume. Meanwhile, we are still waiting for the final driver to set their first representative lap time. We would have had an Alpine and a second RB having set times at this point, but obviously that will not be the case due to the DNF for NATO G in 2 terms deciding to retire in the pit lane rather than finish the qualifying session, as Bum will put it P11 in the remaining Visa Cash App car. And it's not the best of laps from him, but you can see the grid has settled now. We have a general idea of where everyone is. Snoop Francis has invalidated his second lap time. As we just wait to see if anyone else is currently on a push lap. I don't believe so. We've got a couple of drivers coming on to their out laps now. This is Nathan W's, who put it P3 with his first lap. It was a temporary pole position for him. Now he'll look to try and recapture at least a front row start as they work their way now through turn 1. A long right-hander that makes you feel like you can run it wider than you can. Almost opens up, then back down to 2. Heavy braking. Want to thread it to the outside of the track, bring it back over to the left, through the right of 3, heading now up the hill towards 4. Full commitment through here. Have to trust that the car will stick with you. Have to trust that the rear goes with you, and he's done a great job of that. Now through 5 and 6. Heading up to the chicane, a difficult set of corners. You want to avoid the inside curbs as much as possible, but if you can ride it, you can maybe save a 10th. And so far, Nathan has done just that. Now to the very outside of the track, every single one of these corners, you run the car to the very limits. You're pushing all the way. As now through here, it is a 3/10 improvement, and that currently has him only a 10th off Normbach this time. Can he find that other 10th in the final sector? Runs it wide a little bit through the first of the final 2 corners. Now again, into the final corner. Can he get the job done? Can he improve on his time, and can he take P2? No, he can't. Loses about a 10th and a half in the final sector, and it will be no improvement for him, as meanwhile Echo 1 has just begun their first flying lap, or their second flying lap behind him. Oh, sorry, no, has set a flying lap, set a 15.6. Didn't improve, but definitely closed the gap. My apologies for that one. Meanwhile, our championship leader Villneuve has just started a flying lap. There's a Ferrari there on the inside just trying to get out of the way. I believe that would be Deathman. There's going to be a fair bit of traffic on this lap. Oh, there's a bit of a lock-up again from Villneuve. Oh, and he's lost the rear through 2. This lap will definitely not be his best. But how much time has he gained? He's lost a 10th in the first sector. Just not hooking up that car very well here in the first sector. But we know the time is gained, is won and lost really in the middle. Where can he find it? In the Red Bull. As there's a yellow flag in sector 3 for a Mercedes, who seems to just be getting out of the way, as Welshie has put on wet tyres. He's in the pit lane, so he's not gone out on them yet. But he will need to change off them before going out, otherwise he will be DSQ'd from the race. Welshie, don't do a stupid. Across the line comes Snoop to start their flying lap. Normbach crosses the start finish line to start theirs. There's now a couple of drivers cross it to start their final flying laps, or their the second flying laps. Villneuve does improve, but it's only less than a 10th of an improvement, and Villneuve has not been able to gain any time on the front runners. Still P11. Across the line there came Deathman to start a flying lap. Deathman, of course, on 2-lap old softs. He's going on the same set of softs he set his original lap, and that's a 16.1 for him. Now here comes the Williams across the line. Cobb K to start a flyer, 16.0, as we finally get Striker in. Striker has been looking to get into the lobby this entire time, has finally managed to find their way into the arena. Mock Mage is absolutely flying. the lowest standing race winner currently in the championship for McLaren. Can he take home a better qualified position? He can for now. 2,000ths off of P4, almost a second row start, but he will now fall to P5 as Electric Entree goes up to P11. Across the line now comes the Aston Martin. Snoop Francis improves to P6. Just a couple of hundredths off of improving on Mark Major's time. But again, we'll just slot into that little pack behind as Nornbash will box from his flying lap. Or is that... Sorry, that's not Nornbash boxing. That is the other Red Bull of Villneuve. Nornbash, it doesn't look like he's improved on this lap, but we'll be going for one more. Across the line now comes a Ferrari. With Deathman, it's no improvement. The Williams of Cobb K, though, with a massive improvement. Up to P3. And a 15.584 is barely half a second quicker than P6, but it's enough to put him on the second row of the grid for now. Meanwhile, the other McLaren on a flying lap. Mark Major's just not improving. Welshie is on his way out of the pits. Midnight, not improving either. He'll box at the end of this one. Snoop Francis, are you improving? No, you're invalidating. Definitely not an improvement. You'll notice people keeping to the right-hand side there out of the exit of the final, or the second to last corner. The reason being is the pit lane line this time is being really heavily enforced. You must stay on the right side of the line. As here's Nornbash. Breaks even with his middle sector. He has matched his middle sector. Round the final corner. Can he improve? Can he get himself further on the front row? No. He just matches his time. A striker has DC'd. He's not been able to connect to a seat. As now a couple of other cars coming across the line. That was a Ferrari of Deathman who's just setting laps for fun at this point. No real improvement from him. Meanwhile, we've got a couple of other cars on track. I think Bum is on a flying lap. It's up by a 10th and 3/4. 0.175 in the first sector. Now, can he find and continue that pace through the middle? Seems clean enough through the chicane. Now through the S section. It's all about carrying and maintaining pace through the middle of these apexes. And he's doing a pretty decent job of it. Not running the car too wide. That's half a second he's improving now. That's enough for a top 10. Can he keep it together now through the final two corners? Or are those tyres falling off? It's a bit of a lock-up on the front left, but he keeps it together. Now, back to the outside. Swings it in for the final corner. Keeps it close enough to the barriers, but he's ran a bit wide through there. So it's not a great exit. Is it still going to be enough? It is. For P8, a great improvement from him. As meanwhile, in the background, our championship leader will start a flying lap, and we'd have to assume it's going to be one of his last. Time left on the clock, 2 minutes 25. So this lap is all important for Villneuve. He just seems to be struggling for grip and has almost completely lost the rear of the car. It is a 10th up, but he is very much on the limit here and almost invalidates there through turn 4. That car is not gripping whatsoever. Through the chicane. Tries to dial it in now. Are those tyres up to temp? He's invalidated. He's gone a bit too wide, and if you cross all 4 wheels over the white line, it is an invalidation, and that's happened to him now, as meanwhile, our current pole sitter is out for another flying lap. Across the line now comes Great Ace. Been trying to improve. He was slower in the middle sector, loses more time in the final, I assume, to set up for a new lap. Behind him, I believe, Welshie. Also looking to improve. Has had horrific luck when it comes to battling so far this season. Should have been in contention for wins at both Britain and Qatar, but has not found a way through as Villneuve retires into the pit lane. He will not improve. He will start towards the back of the field, and the championship leader will have it all to do. Everyone's starting at their final flying laps now. As Mark Mage crosses the line to start here, there's Echo 1. The only driver still on an outlap currently is Deathman, who is sat behind, I believe, everyone. And there's a yellow flag, and that is for Benzo. Benzo's gone off and is retired on track. It'll be looked at by the stewards. Meanwhile, Great Ace now has invalidated his lap, gets out of the way of everyone. He'll have to follow suit, see if he can go for one more. He'll have 20 seconds on the clock. As meanwhile, across the line comes Welshie. Can he improve? He can! It's P3 for now. Across the line behind him, the Haas driver. There's no improvement from Nathan. The Ferrari of Deathman will start his final flying lap. Here's Cobb K, who's been improving every lap. He does it again. P2 out-qualifies Normbach. Angry Shadow improves to a 14-1, even quicker than before. Is anyone improving? Mark Mage is invalidated. He will not improve. Snoop Francis only P8. Electric Entree is not improving either. Across the line, that was Echo 1. No improvement from him. And it does appear it will just be Nathan now we are waiting for. Deathman as well. Nathan is invalidated, so now it is just Deathman, who is the only driver left on a flying lap, and has almost invalidated it there, but has lost so much time in the middle sector. Needs a strong final sector. The reserve driver who is in the championship fight. Across the line he will come. Will it be an improvement? It will not. He remains P10, and we just now wait for Welshie to cross the start-finish line. He will not improve either, and that will be your qualifying resolved. And there we have it, Angry Shadow on pole position, about what we'd expect. Finally finding the pace that we know he has after his qualifying bans. Cobb K will start P2 though for the Williams team. A great qualifying from him puts him on the front row of the grid with a chance to upset Angry Shadow into turn 1. Meanwhile behind them, Normbach and Welshie all together again at the front. Nathan and Echo 1 in 5th and 6th. Mark Mage and Francis in P7 and 8. Bum and Deathman will round out your top 10. Midnight and Entree ahead of Villneuve, Benzo. And I'm trying to look on the stream to see if I can catch it. Cypher, Great Ace. Then I believe it will be NATO G, Striker in the second Alpine. And then it will be 2 turns from the back of the grid with his by-place grid penalty that he got in the session. Yes, that's a point of note. Thank you for letting me know. It's a 1 second gap between P1 and P2, but from P2 to I don't even know what it was. It was very close for the rest of the field. It was about a couple tenths between the top 7. A ridiculous gap from 2nd to 7th. But again, it's not about the qualifying pace. It's all about the race pace, and really, Hungary is a track where it's all about survival. Even if you can get away, you know there's going to be a safety car. You're going to get brought back in. It's now all about who can manage the safety cars the best, who can do a good job at keeping the car in the position at the front for the longest and to be there at the right time at the very end of the race. It's not about who leads the race at the start, it's about who finishes it first. And so far this season, we've had 4 race winners from 4 races. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another upset here today, and especially with a very angry Welshie sat in P4, not too far behind Angry Shadow considering their interactions in the past few tiers. Oh, it could be spicy at the front. I'm looking forward to it. The Hungarian Grand Prix has never disappointed, apart from the times that it has. 35 laps it will be. If you've got any questions as well, notably Striker, of course, dipping in and out, potentially could be AI on the line. Could be worth checking to make sure if you are starting alongside or behind him, he may be ultra defensive. I believe that only applies to 2 terms to Jacob, who apparently he is the only driver who will be starting behind him. We can actually have a look at the grid currently. These are the tyres, and there is a mixture. And I wondered if Welshie was going to go for it off the line, and I think he will. Has gone for softs off the start line, and we will now see how he will fare. It is going to be 5 red lights. And we are underway as Echo 1 jumps the star and has gotten a jump start drive-through penalty as now we head down towards turn number 1. And would you believe it? It's Angry Shadow ahead of Welshie. Why am I looking at 2 terms? The battle's at the front. There we go. Angry Shadow leads from Welshie, from Nornbash. Mark Majors up to P4. Smith Francis P5. Nathan P6. And it's an awful start for Cobb K, who's been swallowed by the pack. He's had an awful start and has fell down to P9. Echo 1's down to P12. 2 horrific starts for 2 drivers, but the front of the field is opening up already. Medium versus soft. Can Welshie keep up? And are we going to see a repeat of Qatar? As it stands, no, not really. It seems to be already opening up. But behind him, Nornbash holds on a P3 despite everything that happened in front of him. P4 goes to Mark Mage and Snoop Francis now battling it out as Snoop's actually had a pretty poor exit there through a corner and has been closed up by Nathan, who drops down 1 as well. I believe Snoop went for the hard tyre. We'll have a look at the tyres real quick to see. And yes, Snoop Francis went for the harder tyre, so he's going to be under pressure from Nathan, you would assume, here coming out of the final corner. Angry Shadow will lead us away though. 1.5 seconds the gap between him and Welshie. Welshie's put that into Nornbash as well. As now into the braking zone for the first time since the start of the race. And no moves are found just yet. But it is oh so close and tender as Cobb K now looking to try and get back past Bum, who's had a good start as well to get up to P8. Jumped ahead of Cobb K early on, and Cobb K is all over the back. Now the run up to turn 4. You do not want to risk it into here, and Cobb will not. He will sit behind into the middle sector. And the question is, of course, how long before the first penalties start flying? Of course, it is so easy to get an off-track limits violation here at Hungary. It is such a narrow track. It is so hard to go racing. Look at this from Cobb K, all over the rear of the Visa Cash FRB. But there is no way through at all. Bum is defending very well, and that is exactly what you need to do. Just park the car, middle of the road. There is no way around here. Look at Cobb fighting the car in the dirty air as well. That car is not gripping at the rear. Needs to get the bite here across the start-finish line. Can he get the run out of the final corner? Oh, yes, he can. And now, Bum is under huge pressure. ERS burning. Bum defends well. Cobb tries to go around the outside. Bum outbrakes himself slightly. Cobb looks for the switchback. Can't find it. And these two going wheel to wheel, what that's bringing in is the Mercedes behind of Midnight. Such an entertaining scrap, this one. Oh, they almost go wheel to wheel at a 3. And now the run up to 4. And Cobb K has so much more pace than BMW Bum, but he's being held up. This is the power of Hungary. This is the power of track position. If you have track position, you have everything around here. As one of the boards just crumbled. Did anyone see that? The braking board just disappeared into thin air. Meanwhile, at the front, the battle for P3 is raging. Mark Mage ahead of Norm, ahead of Snoop, ahead of Nathan, ahead of Deathman, and now Bum is back on this train. This is the train of Mark Mage at the moment, as he allows Welshie to get away. Mark Mage got ahead of Nornbash early on, and it's really benefited his teammate, because now he can set the tempo that the rest of the field must follow and will allow his teammate to pull away and potentially get a pit stop advantage if Welsh is able to back him up. But it doesn't, or say if Mark Mage is able to back him up, but it does appear that Mark Mage is actually just catching Welsh at this point. Lap 4 of the race now, the gap at the front, 4.3 seconds. is a comfortable lead for Angry Shadow. As meanwhile, there's a battle behind. This is the battle for, I believe, P14. NATO G and Cypher almost go wheel to wheel into 4. We both play it safe and avoid contact. 2 turns now up to P16. Battling with Benzo Slice. A little bit of information from our analyst in the pit lane, Bouncy. Of course, soft tyres going 5 laps at full pace, but start to drift off at around then. But they can go up to lap 11 without puncture. So that will be a note here to see how long Welshie is going to be able to survive on that set of tyres, especially with someone who's got the hard tyre to start the race. In fact, there are 2 of them, and they do seem kind of racy as it stands at the moment. Meanwhile, Cobb Caves drops back from Bum now. The gap over 4.5 tenths. It comes down to the DRS zone, and now the train has begun to take full effect, and it is now very, very difficult to overtake around here. Well, she's already fell back into DRS, boys. 6 seconds the gap between him and Angry Shadow now, and the tyres have definitely started to fall off. We get the great helicopter shot as they come around turn 5. It's a great corner, that one. Uphill right-hander. You want to be delicate enough to avoid the curve, as 2 turns receives a 3-second time penalty for off-track violations. That is our first of the race. It's about when we expected it as well. Lap 5. I'd assume we're going to get more than just 7, though. I think a fair few drivers will end up with penalties here today. Now, the question is for McLaren. Like real life, do you drive a swap at this point? Do you have Mockmage take the lead of this and have the battle happen behind? It's not going to happen because Mockmage has gone off the track. What has happened here? Mockmage with a mistake, it seems, into the second to last corner and has fell down a P9, and now all of that McLaren strategy goes out of the window. Cop K senses an opportunity. Trying to pounce on Bum. Has got the switch back this time. Oh, but the rear doesn't want to grip. And he almost puts it in the wall. Does a great job to keep it together. As Benzo boxes from P17. Look at how close they are. There's contact between the 2. He was that close behind him. And meanwhile, I want to point out, Normbash now has fell back outside of the DRS to Welshie. But this has not benefited Mockmage one bit. He now sits in P9 in this train. One of our race winners this season. Struggling for performance. Another one struggling for performance, but has made his way back through the field a little bit. Villneuve now in P11. In the Red Bull. Is chasing down the Mercedes of Midnight. We know on paper he should have the pace to get the job done, but it has seemed like he's struggled with overall speed and grip around here, especially in qualifying. There's a yellow flag. That's for Benzo Slice. In Sector 2, you can see on the track map, no one boxes, and that's a great run for Villneuve into P10. No questions asked. He's into the points. Meanwhile, this battle that is ongoing, Cobb K has finally got the job done as he gets ahead. As meanwhile, Deathman and Nathan going wheel to wheel through 3. Deathman gives him absolutely nothing and gets the job done. Meanwhile, Deathman now receives a 3-second time penalty for track limit violations. And you can see him just taking the middle of the road there on the way up to the chicane, as Nathan is now under massive pressure. Here's Cobb K closing up to the back of him. As Electric Entree and Midnight swap positions. Great Ace is now past Midnight as well, and I wonder if Midnight's got damage, because he is struggling out there right now. When you lose your rhythm at Hungary, it is a death sentence. You lose one position, you are a sitting duck for everyone else behind you. As meanwhile, Cobb K closes. Couple of moves in the back. 2 times just got past NATO G for P14. He's been making steady progress up the field. trying to make up for the error of his judgment in qualifying, as meanwhile there's a potential move for P2 here. The soft tyres have gone off at this point, and Welshie is under attack. Here comes Normash to the outside into 3. He'll have the grip, but will he be able to go around the outside? He tries it, tries to keep the car there. It'll turn to the inside at 3, back around to 4. They keep going wheel to wheel. Welshie is not backing out of this one, but I think he'll be forced to. Normash around the outside. Great overtake from the Red Bull. Oh, there's contact, Snoop Francis. Contact with Welshie. And that's dropped him a couple of positions now, as they have to go wheel to wheel into the chicane. Nathan's all over the curb. Deathman's dropped down. As everyone's bunched up, there's a yellow flag. That's for a Mercedes. That's midnight. There's another mistake in the middle sector. But look at the gap that's opened up now, and that's from 1 point of contact. And I wonder if that'll be looked at. As meanwhile, Deathman pushing Welshie around at this point. Those soft tyres have gone off, and into the pits he comes at the end of lap 9. Meanwhile, Snoop Francis now with an opportunity to get past Normash. I don't think Normash is going to defend this. But Snoop doesn't go for it here. Waits for the second DRS as Cop K. Oh, Cop K is out. Outbroke himself. Safety car is out. And look at where Welshie is going to come out behind. The safety car. He pit at the perfect time. Cobb just missed his brakes and went straight on. Meanwhile, Welshie tried there to get out ahead of Striker. Couldn't do so. And now the two have to drive around. Apparently there's a controller DC potentially. It seemed he had the brakes eventually, they just weren't working. Meanwhile, this gives a perfect opportunity for Angry Shadow to box. Why is the gap 16 seconds? Yeah, the gap will come down as into the pits, shock of all shocks, comes the Ferrari. Now, everyone is having to mind their delta, but you can speed on the delta into the pit lane. So I wonder if anyone will take advantage of that. And also, the timing of that pit stop might be beneficial to Welshie here. As Snoop Francis stays out. Will he inherit the lead though? He has to get out ahead of Angry Shadow. And do you know what? He will. And that is an Aston Martin into the lead of the Grand Prix. And it will not be every lap led for Angry Shadow. Meanwhile, Two Terms settles into P3. As everyone now boxing and coming out of the pits. But notice who is coming through to take all of those positions back. Bar one, has he got him? I think he might have. As well, she got ahead of Normash, he has. Normash not looking on the exit of the pit lane, and that's given Welshie back the position. And now this will be interesting. Because obviously Two Terms and Snoop Francis will both need to box at some point in this stint. It technically means it's still Angry Shadow Welshie 1-2 in a net position right now. Meanwhile, other big movers, let's have a look at the position changes. Two Terms obviously up 16 is the biggest mover of them all. But Deathman is up to P6 right now. From P10 on the grid, NATO G has been making good moves. Villneuve's held back out of the points after all of the shenanigans. I think being held up by Normash in the pit lane might have done him a little bit of a disservice. It's dropped him behind everyone else now. Though it doesn't seem Deathman had to worry about that, his teammate being a full pit stop and a bit ahead. We now make it onto the second lap under the safety car. And notably, I think I'm seeing that correctly. I think there's a missing bit of end plate. Yeah, I thought so too. He has. He has crashed into the safety car. He's lost a bit of his front wing. And Snoop Francis will box from the lead of the Grand Prix. Which means now officially Angry Shadow leads the Grand Prix every single lap. Have they... Oh, did he cross the line? I don't think he did. I think technically Francis crossed the line first, which means technically he won't lead every lap. Hope for a not perfect race. In theory. 2 turns now up to P2. Oh, everyone take a quick drink. Take a break. Enjoy your hydration, however it suits you. I'm having Dr. Pepper. Just to clear my throat, you know. If you are watching this and this is your first time, or if you're a returning viewer, do hit the like button. Do give us a like. Oh yeah, well, she should be aggressive on the restart. Poor Snoop. Yeah, Snoop, to be fair, I think he only has himself to blame for that. At the end of the day. What? I think we've got the wrong safety car on. This is the broadcast safety car. Yep. Oh dear. Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the safety car will go out for one more lap as we now wait. I'm going to do a different voice whilst we're on broadcast mode. Okay. Let's have some fun with it. And now we see at the front of the field, it is Angry Shadow leading the way from 2 turns, ahead of Welshie, ahead of Norbash, and then Deathman, Nathan, PNW Bam. The host is PNW Bum, ironically. I ping for him as we now enter lap number 12. As the safety car will be coming in, we will get control of the cars once again. To be fair, he's been an excellent host all season. This is the first time he's made a mistake. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back in the box, and we are back ready to go. Safety car in this lap, and Shadow is not building a gap whatsoever, but now we'll start to do so. What will we have off the restart? We are waiting for Angry Shadow, and he's gone early at the final corner and has already capped 2 turns like it was nothing. 2 turns and spun at the final corner, so it doesn't matter if Welshie was going to be aggressive. He's got the position anyway. Normbash now chasing him down. This is the battle for P2 here in F Tier 5.5. Meanwhile, Mark Mage defending from Bum is gone off the track. Through Bum goes potentially here as they go wheel to wheel down towards turn 2. But look at the Mercedes of Entree. Aggressive manoeuvre up the inside. A very, very opportunistic one. Gets the job done up to P7. Villneuve's had a great start. Got past both Alpines up to P9. Is so much faster than Bum on those hard tyres though. And we've seen this already. Bum is a legend of holding up the field. He'll have to do that a bit more today if he's going to hang on to position. Meanwhile, Deathman still sits P3 ahead of Normbash, ahead of Nathan. There's a bit of a gap behind him. 1.1 to Mark Mage in P6. As there's a yellow flag. And it's for 2 turns. And he's in the wall. And he is not moving. He is now. And I wonder if he's just been caught up in an incident there as people are chopping and changing positions in that midfield. This is the battle for, I think, P12 in reality. Or P13, sorry. It's Snoop Francis, that striker who's just fell down the order massively. Under immense pressure. Oh, what a bit of lag as well from Striker. He goes defensive into turn number 1. And I think he may be AI. That may be an issue. Anyway, back at the front. Well, let's not look at that far front. Let's look at the battle in the front. P2, under pressure. Welshie has had the pace so far to be P2, but was on the wrong set of tyres for the race. Went for the softs to try and get the jump off the line. Yeah, I don't think, as 2 turns retires in the box, that will not bring out a safety car. Though we have seen the legendary antics of one retired car in the Qatar Grand Prix. I hope to God we don't see that again. Nope, we won't. 2 turns has just retired in the pits, seemingly The glitch is dead, boys. One of the greatest laps of the safety car we have ever seen. If you weren't here to watch it, you may not remember. It was an absolutely tragic event on that day, as a 17.8 on hards comes out for Angry Shadow. As well, she now under pressure from Deathman, but also, notably, Normbash under pressure from Nathan. Battle for P4 here. And so far this weekend, Ferrari are looking strong. The traditional front runner of Verstappen Shadow, as there's a yellow flag, and there is a 3-car incident. A safety car is out. And it will involve Grade Ace, Snoop, and Cypher. And we are back under safety car conditions. And you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the broadcast safety car. At this point, I need to ask strategy, because I'm not too caught up on strategy here around this track. So I don't really know what the best strategy is. Can the mediums go 20? In theory. Because, like, if they can, you think we see people box it? Doesn't seem like anyone is at the moment. At least the top 3 are not boxing. Neither are the top 6. Electricon Trey opts to stay out. Bomb stays out. Villneuve stays out. NATO G stays out. Echo 1 decides to stay out. What about Midnight? Well, you know what? He'll stay out as well. What about Benzo? Nope. Stays out. Striker stays out. In comes Snoop Francis. Second broken front wing of the day for him. Cypher stays out because he's not got damage from that incident. In theory, yeah. Only be 16. Yep, in theory, yeah. It's, again, it's a theoretical idea, but, hey! You ever seen this before? Hey, guys. We love McLaren v Ferrari. We love McLaren v Ferrari. I think it's a great rivalry. I think, in terms of two teams that represent Formula 1, the Renault team's better than McLaren versus Ferrari. However, there is also the case of Shadow versus Welshie, which is like if Prost Senna was a bloodbath. Yeah. Cobb K, what happened, buddy? Welcome to the chat. Horrible, horrible situation. We saw the moment you lost. It seemed like you lost the ability to brake. What went wrong? Hard defending, you missed the breaking point. Fair enough, lad, fair enough. It does happen to the best of us at the end of the day. And by the best of us, I mean literally all of us. I think all of us have missed our breaking point like that and just gone straight into a wall before. Welshie here, by the way, potentially breaking the safety car rules. And it might be worth noting, you are not allowed to go alongside another driver under the safety car. And right now, he is going alongside repeatedly. And this might be worth noting if you are in the steward's booth. Obviously, we've got one thing we've already noted, which is the 2 terms, you know, crashing into someone in qualifying. Welshie is agitated, man. You can see it in the way he's driving. It's like a shark smelling blood in the water. He's got an opportunity to attack Angry Shadow into turn 1. You know for a fact he's going to go for it. And this is what I love about Tier 5 this season, is that we have this almost lifelong battle between these two drivers. It makes it so fun, because you know for a fact, it's like Verstappen and Hamilton. They will come together, and it will be entertaining. It happened again at Hungary. He's got a chance to get a red Qatar. I think they've already hit before then. I believe they hit at the British GP as well, if I remember correctly. There was an incident involving them, but we are back under broadcast situations as we go back to, obviously, AI again. We can't turn the setting off mid-quali. We can't turn it off mid-race. But it is time for your old-timey broadcast. Once again, Angry Shadow leads the way for Ferrari ahead of the McLaren of Welshie. It is a 1-3 though for Ferrari. Deathman up to P3 as we end at lap 17. The safety car will remain out for one more lap. Meanwhile, behind, Normbach ahead of Nathan W's at the moment, with Mach-Mage, the other McLaren, in P6. Electric Andre with the best performance of the rest so far, with maybe a shock point score for NATO G, who obviously had a horrific qualifying accident. It is a miracle he is still with us today. It will be worth looking at, Welshie, thank you for your input, but it will go to the stewards either way. They will have a look at that as we now get to the front of the field. And you know what that means. It is time for us to get back to broadcast voice, the proper broadcast view, as we get racing once again here at Hungary. And look at how slow Angry Shadow is going. Welshie, though, has kept those tyres warm and has gone again at the same point as Angry Shadow, and he's done that very well because it limits the ability of the driver behind to get on the throttle mid-corner. But the gap is half a second into turn number 1. Will there be a move into turn number 1? Welshie late on the brakes, but not late enough to challenge him. But this is the closest they've looked all race long. And it doesn't appear there will be any incidents. Meanwhile, Bum battling as Villneuve's already got up one. Oh, Villneuve's gone down, sorry. Villneuve overtaken there by Bum. Meanwhile, Echo 1 falls out. Entree fell out of the points entirely. Is it down to P11 now? A poor restart from the Mercedes driver. Meanwhile, back at the front, the gap's 0.7 of a second now. And it does feel like, well, she's struggling to keep the grip and the same pace level that the Ferrari has been managing. Meanwhile, Deathman in P3. Ever closer. Still threatening that double Ferrari, that 1-2 that we've been dreading basically all season with Jammers, as didn't come to fruition with Jammers, but may come to fruition with Deathman. Normbach, meanwhile, is sat in P4 and is not too far off the back either, but he has a very rapid Nathan W's behind him. Nathan has looked the faster driver of the pair, but hasn't been able to get through. 17.5 off the restart from Angry Shadow, as DRS is enabled. And Normbach doesn't have DRS. Or does he? I don't think he does. Well, it's because DRS is only enabled this lap. I'm an idiot. Yep, I know, chap. I know. Don't say it. I know. Meanwhile, back end of the points, NATO G is up to P9. He's now under pressure from Echo 1 Medic, who is doing everything in his power to get back into the points. After a poor start dropped him out of it, now he's back in again as Snoop Francis receives a 3-second time penalty. I believe that brings him up to 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Villneuve in the points now, trying to secure the championship lead. He'll need a few more points than that. He leads by 11 over Benzo, who's not in the points as it stands, and it's 13 back to Angry Shadow. As it stands at the moment, it will be a new championship leader. I think 8 points will be the gap at the front. Meanwhile, Villneuve now putting the pressure on. Meanwhile, there's another battle in front of them. Mach-Mage has closed up to Nathan, who's closed up to Normbach. This is the battle for P number 4. Nathan goes to the inside. Normbach just nonplussed by his existence there, as Villneuve has got the move done. And Red Bull attacking and defending simultaneously. One defends the position perfectly. The other takes the position perfectly. Now the run up to turn 4, he can see the trio in the distance, and what Normbach will be unintentionally doing by holding up Nathan and Mach-Mage, who are very much all over his rear here in the middle sector. What he's inevitably doing is allowing Villneuve to close up. Oh, but Nathan had a great run through the chicane there, almost got the move done. Out of the chicane into the S section. As they go nose to tail now, into the braking point. Cypher, who's outside of the points in P14, the other Haas driver, not the one we're looking at right now, has received a 3-second as well. It may say safety car at the top. That is a visual glitch. Let me see if we can get rid of it. Nope, it's stuck there forever. We are forever in a safety car. No, we're in yellow flags now. And that is a valid yellow flag because that is for Bum, who's had a moment. But we got to go back to the front because the move has been done. Normbach overtaken. It's Nathan into P4 for now. Double DRS detection though, which means he'll be under pressure from the McLaren. But finally, Nathan is able to fly away and take advantage of his pace advantage. As meanwhile, there's a three-way scrap currently for what I have to assume is P13. Oh no! Oh my god! They go wheel to wheel. It's Great Ace and Cypher. Wheel to wheel up to turn 4. Who's going to be the one to back out? Oh, no one! Oh, there was almost contact. What great racing across the field from everyone. There's a cloud of smoke into the chicane, and we're not sure who that's for. We'd have to assume it'd be someone at the front of this pack. Meanwhile, Welshie's still keeping 7/10 to Deathman. A striker has retired on track. Striker, that's not allowed, mate. As he leaves the session. Unless that was a DNF, which honestly it could have been. I don't blame him otherwise. That's naughty. We don't do that here. Normbach, still P5. He's actually done a good job of keeping Mockmage at bay because Mockmage is now not having to look forward at a Red Bull, but look behind at one. Villneuve now putting him under pressure. Has put 2.2 into Echo 1. That gap will continue to come down the more he sits in the dirty airs. There's a yellow flag as St. Francis is out. And that will bring out our third safety car. And at this point, you would be medium runners to the end. But Stu Francis has lost it through turn 3. And we will be going back to the old-timey F1 broadcast voice for at least one more stint. Meanwhile, what that has done is that has, in a sense, granted Normbach a little bit of freedom. And that's good for him. He needed that. But the question is, will anyone box? Everyone should be boxing. In comes the race leader, Angry Shadow. As well, she now will follow in. And look at Deathman. Easing into the pit lane, taking his time. He has the time to do so. Nathan? Buddy, no. There was a pit stop there. It's not mandatory, but there was a pit stop there. Midnight stayed out. Midnight's up to P2. And Great Ace is going to separate Shadow and Welshie. Striker had no control of this car. Fair enough. That's understandable, mate. Meanwhile, what we did miss was discussing all of that. There was a 10-second penalty given out to the Red Bull of Normbach, who inadvertently then held up Villneuve because, you know, pit stops and all that. And just like that, Red Bull's plan's undone. 5th and 7th to 7th and 10th. But it will be, of all people leading the race, an Aston Martin. No, it's Nathan W's. There's no way he goes to the end, right? Like, there's no way. Meanwhile, I want to point out the tyres everyone is on because it is very important to know Great Ace did box under the last safety car for a set of mediums. Fair enough, Striker. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, Great Ace can go to the end. He's in P4. Now, obviously his pace has not been stellar compared to everyone else, but it will be interesting to see if he's going to be able to do anything with it. Yeah, it's going to be a tight thing. Either way, we are back under the broadcast safety car. We're looking at P13, PNW Bam, our host of the session. He, of course, making a huge mistake by putting on this setting because it has altered my voice irreparably. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Nathan W's will lead us away for the next safety car restart as the game glitches onto lap end of lap 25, we will go one more under the safety car. So I hit my pedals. We look down the order. Welshie in P3 or P4. I apologise. Wait a minute. Angry Shadow's boxed. Angry Shadow is down to P11. Huh? Hold up. What's happened? Wait, he's back. What? 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 Okay, the broadcast safety car just gave us all a heart attack. Can I get off of Bum's perspective? Thank you. Jesus. Right. Nathan will lead us away. And look at how slowly he's going on those hard tires. The field has come to a stop. That is a ridiculously slow pace from Nathan. And it's smart as well. As he waits and waits and waits. And has now gone. Middle of the corner. Midnight had a much better exit than him though. Here comes Midnight. Across the start finish line. With green flag conditions. And it's going to be Midnight into the lead. Oh, but he spun it on the inside. What a great recovery. Hangs on to P2 for now. But here comes Angry Shadow. Lock up from Midnight. And through goes Angry Shadow. Temporarily. They battle wheel to wheel. Shadow's got the job done. Well, she needs to make the move now. But he can't get through. Midnight's all over the road. Midnight's round. Midnight with a massive spin. What a recovery, though, to not bin the car. As everyone now has to take avoiding action. He's done a safe job at rejoining, in all fairness to him. That was a ridiculous catch. Meanwhile, at the front, Welshie is going to have to close up now because I don't think Nathan can hold him for much longer. What a spin. This is what it looks like from Welshie's car. Angry Shadow sat behind. Meanwhile, Deathman's got past Grade Ace. That's P4 secured. Back to the front. Oh, Welshie! Welshie side by side with the Ferrari. This is the closest they've been. We're going to get a battle into turn one. Welshie and Angry Shadow. Into turn one they go. Welshie will commit for the move. He has to. Up the inside. Will they make contact? No. Clean driving from both. And that may have been the only opportunity from Angry Shadow. He may not get another one. Or may not gift another one to Welshie. And Welshie now already half a second back. As those medium tyres start to work their magic for the Ferrari. And look at the gap open. The pace advantage of Angry Shadow is ridiculous. And Welshie had one chance to steal a win. And he will not find it. Nathan W's now still in P3 under pressure from Deathman, the other Ferrari, who's looking to try and secure the position. Nathan has done 18 laps on those hard tyres as Midnight's had another moment. He's down to P11. Sorry, is that Midnight? It is Midnight, yes. Wait, what? Midnight? Huh? Benzo, Bum and Cypher are a lap down. Oh! Angry Shadow is DC'd! What is going on? Someone get him an invite back in now! Look at this moment! This is chaos! This is tier 5! Well, she senses opportunity! Round the outside of 5, no! Look at Welshie, he's squirming on the car! He knows he's got to make the move now! There's contact between the two! But he's got the job done! Welshie into the lead! Deathman chasing them down now! Someone invite Angry Shadow! Please! This is what happened to Jatton in tier 2, or tier 6 even! Meanwhile, Nathan is keeping up with Deathman! What ridiculous pace does he have on those hards? He has rejoined. That will have to be looked at by the stewards. Was that a clean overtake? Meanwhile, I don't know if Deathman will hold position here. Because Deathman is going for the move on his teammate. And he's got the move done. Has he got control of the car? There's been a yellow flag. That's for Electric Entree, who's gone round. And there's another spinner. Great Ace has lost it as well. Angry Shadow now down to P7. It looks like he's got control again. He has. Angry Shadow back in control of the car. Now has 6 laps to pull off a miracle return. Oh, this is going to be fun. Let's go on board with the Ferrari. Yellow flags in Sector 2. That's for Great Ace, I believe, who's gone round. This is such a weird race because the people that are in P13, 14 and 15 are in actuality P10, 11 and 13. Angry Shadow now. Attacking Echo 1. No hesitation. Echo 1 does not fight it. Why would you? Meanwhile, the battle for what is at the moment a podium, at best it will be a P4, I think, between Mockmage and Nathan, as they go almost wheel to wheel into turn number 2. Meanwhile, the gap at the front to Welshie, 1.7 to Deathman. Now, will Mockmage do some team ordering here? He has his teammates race win. Oh, there's contact between the two. Mockmage and Shadow meet in the middle of the road. There was contact between them at turn 4. And through goes Normbash back into P6. It's the wrong McLaren. It's a broken front wing for Shadow now. And through goes Villneuve, who is still fighting to maintain his championship lead, I want to point out. He is now back up to P7 as Angry Shadow's gone completely off. And the race goes from bad to worse for the Ferrari. I told you all. Why is Echo 1 in P3? When did that happen? Racing wheel to wheel with Nathan. Chat is losing their minds right now. I want to point out, Angry Shadow will still keep P10. Deathman has a penalty though. I think that's the issue here. 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Normbash still has 10 seconds. He does need to serve. He doesn't have to serve it in the pits, but he will have to do it later. Attempted overtake there. Turn 4 goes wrong. They definitely went wheel to wheel. There was contact there, and I'm not sure why. But we'll have to review that later. That will be on the steward. Meanwhile, maybe the most surprising thing, there is a kick on the podium, but for the first time this season, it's not Benzo. And it's another incident between Ferrari and McLaren. Oh, that will have to be looked at. But we are on the third to last lap of the race. Deathman is within a second of Welshie. Now, obviously, Deathman has his penalties. As meanwhile, Red Bull, I don't know if that was intentional, but it does look like team orders there. Normbash has let Villneuve go. And I wonder if that is interesting or not. Because right now, Villneuve is closing in on Deathman. Deathman is, of course, I think 15 points behind in the championship to Villneuve. As it stands currently, Villneuve still leads by 10. Someone will have to check my math on that, because I don't have it off the top of my head. But look at how quickly Villneuve's caught up to Mockmage. Back to the tyres, just so you can see the pace difference. Nathan, on 23 lap old hards, is currently P4. Legendary drive from him, regardless of how this ends. Meanwhile, Welshie's opened the gap back up to Deathman. 1.3 seconds now, the lead. And as it stands, Deathman will in fact secure P2, but Echo 1 is just outside of that 3-second window. If Echo 1 can put in 2 great laps here, he might just steal P2. Nathan, though, will not be getting P3. As meanwhile, Angry Shadow now up to P10. As he races, I believe that would be Cypher, who is technically P15 and a lap down. It is a very weird race, because technically the next car on track that Angry Shadow needs to pass is NATO G, who is currently at the end of the straight, but there is a car between them. Meanwhile, there's a yellow flag ahead. That is for a Williams of Great Ace, who's gone off ahead. We've got to be very careful now as they come through this section. Oh, he's off there on the side. And that is always very risky. You go deep into that corner, you can cause a collision there. Back at the front. It has been a little bit of misfortune and a little bit of luck that determines races like these. But sometimes you just got to be in the right place at the right time. And for Welshie, he was. We come on to the final lap this time around. Will he be able to keep the gap ahead of Deathman and not cause chaos? Echo 1, meanwhile, has dropped another second to Deathman. That's his chances of P2 over. And he seems pretty secure in P3. As now Mark Mage gets one last shot. He doesn't fight into 1. You would have to assume he's going to go for it into 2. Can he get the exit? Oh, the tyres are screaming at him. Oh, and he locks up a little bit. He's very fortunate not to spin the car there. Villneuve, meanwhile, seems to have just found grip. As there's a yellow flag. That's great, Ace. Never mind. I was so worried for a second there. Meanwhile, Normbash has got 8 seconds to Electric Entree. As it stands currently, he will finish P8 despite his 10-second time penalty. This is the battle for P3. And Echo 1 has dropped back into the hands of Nathan here, who will survive to the end, it seems. Benzo up to P12 now, officially. But it will be a McLaren Ferrari 1-2. Though it is not the 1-2 that anyone, I think, would have predicted coming into this weekend. Yellow flags in Sector 2 will not dampen a race win. It will be Welshie who crosses the line to take P1 here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Deathman will finish in second, and it will be Echo 1 who will hang on a P3 ahead of Nathan, Mark Mage, Villneuve, and then Normbash. Will Normbash hang on a P7? No, he will not. Electric Entree will take it away from him. Normbash down a P8, as now NATO G will take P9, though Benzo did beat him over the line, and I'm very confused as to why he was a lap down. May have to look at that for a potential only P10, because I think 3 cars were given a lap extra for no good reason. Haas points. Cypher has retired in the pit lane on the final lap. So maybe not has to plan just yet. That is an interesting call from Cypher. As Midnight will cross the line technically to finish P11. In reality, I think it was P14. But what a race. I don't want to do interviews. I'm too scared to do an interview with any of these drivers. What a performance from everyone involved in that race. Tremendous driving from all. But once again, Tier 5. Chaos reigns. Ooh. Chat. Should we get interviews? Should we get the boys in the box? It will be Welshie who takes the top step of the podium. It will be Echo 1 in P3, and it will be Deathman in P2. Let's get them in the booth. Here are your official results one last time. As we just wait now for everyone to file themselves in to the booth. As I am scrolling through chats to see if anyone wants to go into the booth. No one has yet jumped in. We are still waiting for the standings to pop up, but I don't think they're going to. They're not. Because why would they? Yeah, that's the question. Was there enough of an incident there to penalise Welshie? That's the question that we'll have to look at another time. As we quickly now swap over back to my beautiful face whilst we wait for the drivers to settle back in. That was one of the races of all time. Definitively tier 5 standard at this point, as I quickly close out F1 24 and get that game off my screen. We can focus instead in the overall finishing positions. That is maybe the weirdest finishing position I've ever seen. There was so much wrong with the end of that race that we'll have to look into it another time. But what we do have is our first podium of the season for one of the drivers on the podium. It is going to be Echo 1 Medic, who will secure a P3 here at the Hungaroring. What a performance from you to get yourself in that position.
Yeah, did not expect that, especially with the jump start.
Yeah, a jump start, dead last, basically nothing going for you. You struggled your way back into the points, and then that final safety car seemed to work wonders for you. Gets you near the front, and you make the most of it, securing a podium position with, I think, a second to spare?
Yeah, just about 1.1, I think, is what it came out to.
Almost a P2 as well. In the end, a very strong performance from you in terms of pure race pace. Talk us through that race, because it's hard to catch up with everything at the Hungaroring at the best of times. So we didn't quite catch you the entire way up the field. How did it feel for you having to fight through the pack and get to the front?
I would say it definitely was difficult. As soon as I jump started, which I let go of the clutch just by accident, so I knew at that point my race was probably done, but I knew I had a little bit of race pace. So going into this, it was just head down, try to go as fast as I can, as clean as I can, and then I started noticing I was catching up to everybody towards the back end, and then those safety cars honestly saved me. But man, it's kind of ridiculous to see how many safety cars there were. But yeah, I think that's what saved my race in the long run, and then just trying to keep it clean.
P4 last week in Qatar, now a podium in P3 this week. We're looking at Spa next weekend at Belgium, another European track. Do you see yourself finding another step up the podium that time to sort of accompany Benzo's great form this season, or will it be a step too far, do you think, to get onto P2?
I've been putting in quite a bit of work over the last few weeks. I mean, you saw me from the beginning all the way in the back, and I was really having a difficult time with getting used to the medium traction control and all that kind of stuff. And so I've put in a whole bunch of work trying to get up to pace with everybody else. And I think Spa is one of my favorite tracks. So I'm hoping to be closer towards the front of the pack like I've been for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it seems like you'll have the opportunity to do so. And thank you again for hopping in the interview booth. We wish you the best of luck next weekend. You're getting some great points for Sauber, and I think may have just knocked them towards the top step of it, had it not been for the fact that a Ferrari managed to steal P2.
Thanks, Dave.
No worries. Let's go now to our next driver, the P2 in the standings. He had 3 seconds worth of time penalties, but it didn't seem to matter to secure him the position. Hello, Deathman. Welcome to the booth once again. A performance maybe worth forgetting, but also worth remembering for the points you get for Ferrari and yourself in the driver's standings.
Absolutely. I'm very happy. Uh, you see me cooking McLaren, I cook in Ferrari.
You cook in any car, it seems. It doesn't matter which one of the rivalry cars you go for. It seems you create class driving no matter where you go.
Yeah, very happy to get the second place. It's not a win, you know. I'm a little disappointed from my last interview with you, but podium's a podium.
Yeah. Last time we saw you on the booth was obviously at Austria when you won there ahead of a Marmo. This time it's a completely different top three. Now it's the McLaren you were racing alongside and in place of in Welshie that's taken that top step ahead of you. What was it like racing Welshie throughout that race? Because obviously we talk a lot about the Angry Shadow Welshie rivalry that seems to have been brewing, but you seem to be right on in for most of that race.
Yeah, he's a scary man. He I don't know if it appears on the broadcast that way, but he the way his car moves, it jumps. So if you brake too early, a little bit too late, you're not really too sure. So you got to really take it easy with him. So I was being a little bit more careful than I usually am than sending moves. It happened a couple times, I think, but even in like he made a couple mistakes near the end, and it's just scary because you don't really know the position of his car, so you can't send something with 100% confidence.
57 points for you now in the standings. I think that basically locks you into P2 overall. Just a couple points now behind Villneuve, who is still the championship leader, I believe, after this round. You're currently still marked as a reserve. Is there any chance we see you in a full-time seat for Spa, or are we going to have to wait longer for a reserve driver like yourself to find a top spot and find a team to drive for?
The longer it keeps going, the longer it's looking unlikely for me to get a spot. But you never know when it comes to the end of the season. We approach the halfway mark now.
Yeah,
So
we're here
maybe
now. Yeah.
a couple more of the drivers will become unavailable. I'll start getting a little bit more spots.
Well, obviously, you've been here for four of the first five, and you've performed in almost all of them. So thank you very much for coming into the booth, and we wish you the best of luck at Belgium next weekend, and see if you can carry another team to another good points, or maybe outside of the Ferrari-McLaren rivalry, though.
All right, take it easy, Dan. Peace
You
out.
too, bud. Right, we go now to our race winner. Controversial potentially, but it will be something that will be looked at after the race. Of course, it was the man who has been arguably wrongly hit throughout the season. He struggled to find the form, but finally, the top step of the podium is yours, Welshie. Congratulations on your race win.
Thank you. It was through no circumstances of my own, of course. I got very lucky. With all the pit stops, every time Shadow like just disappeared up the roads, gained 5 seconds, the safety car would bring him back, but I was like decent enough to be there when it did happen on the restarts. I got very lucky. The not the AlphaTauri, sorry, living in the past. The Racing Bull spanned in front of me, almost took me out. I very nearly got took out. Got back into second, tried the lunge, realized I was too far back, so sort of like backed out mid-lunge. And then there was was it Midnight that spun, turn 4. He spun, I missed his car by millimeters with my front right tire. Like a breath more and I was out.
We brought it up on the broadcast because of, your previous with Angry Shadow. It felt like there was going to be a target on his back throughout this weekend. And every single time that restart came around, it felt like you were gunning for him. You knew he was the target going in. So how did it feel getting that move done at the chicane? Whilst he was under AI, notably, but getting the job done no matter what to secure that position?
Oh, mate, when the second he went into AI, I was like, oh no, I've disconnected. No, not now. And I realized I actually didn't, and he did, and I was just like, come on! And then I slammed it into overtake mode, and I didn't leave overtake mode until the next lap. I was building that gap, and yeah, his AI was acting a little fruity. Like his AI sort of let me take the inside, then swerved towards me, then swerved back away. It was a bit scary. I thought, oh no, I'm going to spin. And then I got past and then obviously just took off down the road and won it.
37 points for you now in the standings. That puts you basically around the same point as Mark Mage now in the standings, your fellow McLaren teammate. It's been a very interesting season for McLaren. Now both drivers and the reserve driver at the time in Deathman have won a race for you. But still, fighting for that constructor standing seems to be a little bit out of reach right now. What is the thought process going into Belgium? Are you going to be able to close the gap up to the Red Bull team, who are technically leading the way as it stands at the moment, or will it be a tougher fight for you?
Yeah, well, just to quickly, like not to too much dwell in the past, I think I should have won at least 3 races, but horrendous. It happens. It's racing. I was a bit off at the time, like swear word off. Coming into this weekend, was not confident at all. Hungary is my worst track, and then magically won. Spa is my second worst track, so hopefully another magical win and a hell of a lot of luck.
Yeah, Spa is tending to be one of the tougher tracks for cars. Only 22 laps compared to the 35 sort of battle royale that feels like Hungary was. Fingers crossed we don't have broadcast safety cars next time, though, because that will bring about a little bit of fun. But thank you once again for popping in the interview booth. It's a pleasure to have you, and hopefully we'll see you again next week battling at the front for a win.
Maybe only if it's raining. I am
maybe
God in the wet.
Well,
Which
we'll
is
see.
a very high chance.
Yeah, it is what, 70%, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
it's really high. So I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we'll see you on the podium again next weekend.
Aye. Cheers, mate.
And so that brings to an end round number 5 of the Tier 5 Championship here in MRL. A tremendous round once again, but maybe surprisingly on the more competitive side of things. A lot closer than people would have predicted after that qualifying session. And in the end, a Welshie race win. We now turn our attention, though, to Tier 4, who is ongoing right now. Their qualifying is underway and they are about to finish it up. So I would recommend, if you are still watching, go check them out now and we will get over to them in a short period of time. But thank you all for watching. Of course, it has been a pleasure. I have been the Big Mac Dan, and we will see you all again next weekend.